Good evening. A woman has died after an early morning fire in Scarborough. The victim found without vital signs in front of the high-rise.
The fire broke out on the 16th floor, and neighbors say the woman was attempting to escape the blaze. CTV's Janice Golding is live at the scene this hour with the latest. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, a woman's body was removed from the grounds behind us here about an hour and a half ago, and the police tape finally taken down. However, there are still visible reminders for area residents about what happened here early this morning. From our CTV News chopper, you can see a 16th floor balcony covered in black soot. And on the grass below, a blanket-covered body.
I had someone call me from the building because I'm on the 16th floor, and they told me that someone had jumped.
I just feel horrible for the woman who had to go to that, go to that means to try and save herself.
Residents telling CTV News the tenant of the condominium had attempted to self-rescue when a second alarm fire raged through her unit.
It was fully involved when we arrived.
Fire officials say it was around 7:45 a.m. when they got the call, and when they arrived, no one responded, so they had to breach the door.
We got here in under 3 minutes. All of the living area was ablaze. 213 knocked the fire down very quickly. Conducted a primary and secondary search, while the firefighters from 212 were working on the patient performing CPR.
An adult without vital signs was discovered outside on the ground below the unit. Crews attempted CPR, but the victim, whom neighbors say was a middle-aged woman, would be pronounced dead at the scene.
Very, very, very sad. I knew the lady. She was very, very nice, quiet.
It was shocking to know that somebody would jump from a 16th floor.
It's awful, you know what I mean? She's still young.
While offering condolences to loved ones, the local councillor also says he's offering support to tenants.
Been in touch with the management. I've been in touch with the superintendent of the building as well. I've just gone down and met with them and offered our full support for both the physical type support, but also more importantly the emotional and mental health related support that might be required in the aftermath of this incident.
And while saying it's too early to determine what caused the blaze, the fire marshal wanted to remind the public of the importance of having both working smoke alarms and a fire safety plan.
Taking that extra hour with your family, sitting down, discussing an exit strategy plan when an incident like this were to occur, that could save your life at the end of the day.
The blaze was quickly knocked down and did not spread to other units, although some tenants are reporting some smoke and water damage. At this point, officials say there's nothing to indicate that this fire was suspicious. The origins and cause of the blaze are still under investigation. Reporting live from Janice Golding, that back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Investigators are also on the scene of another fatal fire in the city, this one downtown. Crews were called to 200 Wellesley this morning for reports of smoke on the 19th floor of the building. When they arrived, they found a small kitchen fire. The flames were extinguished quickly, but one person was found dead inside.
Our first arriving unit arrived within 2 minutes. Our second arriving unit from the region station arrived within 4 minutes of the initial call. Our crews went to the 19th floor, found smoke on the 19th floor, entered a 19th floor unit. There was smoke in the unit from a small kitchen fire. We attended to the fire on primary search. Our crews found a male, vital signs absent. Our partners in EMS were here as well, and they declared the male victim at this time.
Also in St. Jamestown, 2 children were among 4 people taken to hospital after an early morning fire. Flames broke out at around 3 a.m. in a unit on the 8th floor of the building on Ontario Street. Take a look. You can see lots of damage to several balconies, but it's not clear how many people have been displaced. The victim's injuries are described as moderate.
One person believed to have been stuck on a cliff since Monday has been rescued from the Scarborough Bluffs. The CTV News chopper was over the scene this morning as Toronto Fire helped rescue this person. Officials say they believe that person was stuck on a cliff for about 24 hours before a passerby heard them calling for help this morning and called 911.
From what I'm being told, with minor injuries, but apparently dehydration caused from a significant period of time exposed to the elements. Apparently that person was there for approximately 24 hours, but that timeline, I do not know the exact timeline or hours. So that's where we stand right now. All crews have been cleared.
The stranded person was taken for medical assessment and treatment of dehydration. The circumstances of how this person managed to become stuck on the bluffs are still under investigation.
And speaking of stranded, WestJet passengers are scrambling to get back in the air after the airline strike ended after just 30 hours. We'll have the latest on the situation in moments.
But first to the forecast, and here's a live shot. We're into a little stretch of nice weather. The holiday Monday delivered weather-wise. Today has been just gorgeous, and there's more of this tomorrow before wet weather moves in. But for now, enjoy these evening hours. Beautiful clear sky at this hour. And if we look at the satellite radar, you can see there's nothing to ruin your evening plans. A really lovely way for many to start the work week and this shorter work week. Right now, 27 degrees, but there's humidity in the mix, making it feel like 30 degrees. A light breeze also making it comfortable as we deal with that humidity. And if we look at the evening at a glance, 25 degrees, 7 p.m., but feeling like 31 with the humidex, and really nice and comfortable conditions at 9 p.m. Cools down by 11 with that light wind in the mix. If we look overnight, rather seasonal, 16 degrees, clear conditions, a sunrise 6:11 tomorrow, and when you wake up at 8 a.m., going to feel like 25 with the humidity. We'll have more weather to come, but for now, let's get to some more news.
Peel police say a man is dead following a motorcycle crash in Brampton. It happened at Sunpack Boulevard in Queen Street around 7:30 this morning. Police say a car and a motorcyclist collided. The motorcyclist died at the scene. There are road closures in place, and drivers are being asked to avoid the area. And another motorcyclist is seriously injured after a collision in Vaughan. The CTV News chopper was over the scene at Ontario Street and Major Mackenzie. A motorcycle and car collided just before 12:30. The rider was rushed to hospital, but he's expected to survive. Any witnesses to the crash are asked to contact York Regional Police.
Police are investigating after gunfire rang out in a residential area of Mimico early this morning. Police called to the Royal York Road and Mimico Avenue area around 5 a.m. for reports of a shooting. When they got on scene, officers found shell casings and a vehicle that was damaged by gunfire. No injuries have been reported, and police have not released a suspect description. They are asking any witnesses or people with video from this area to come forward. And we have some breaking news this hour. First responders are on scene of a stabbing in Brampton. This is a live look from the area. This is Queen and Main. The incident happened just after 4:30. Peel police say the victim is a 40-year-old man. He was airlifted to hospital by Orange Air Ambulance with critical injuries. You can see police on the scene this hour. Police tape marking the scene. We will continue to follow this developing story.
Still ahead, 5 new wildfires emerged in the province's northeast, and over 100 still burn. The latest on Ontario's efforts to extinguish the forest fires later in the newscast. But first, the cleanup continues in the St. Catharines area after flooding caused by back-to-back rainstorms in the past few days.
Today, residents are not only dealing with the mess, but bracing for more rain ahead. CTV's Mike Walker has more.
This was all under 18 inches yesterday. You can see the water line here.
With the water now receded, the extent of the damage is clear.
Everything 4 feet down, well, to here. Everything's going to be cut.
Neighborhoods in St. Catharines lined with dumpsters in the driveway and large piles of debris on front lawns, including appliances, furniture, and flooring, as residents clear out their basements after back-to-back floods in a matter of a week.
Sewer back up, everything's destroyed. It's really sad. It's pretty hard to deal with.
A state of emergency in effect in St. Catharines and the town of Lincoln after 3 torrential rainstorms since July 21st.
And we got a little over 3 feet.
Tiffany Mayer among many residents now dealing with their insurance companies and restoration crews for the second time in days.
My daughter's father, who had passed away last year after 6 years with ALS, we had memories of him tucked down there, and I tried my best to save what I could, but everything was lost.
St. Catharines mayor says the storms dropped a hurricane's worth of rain that overwhelmed the city's infrastructure, impacting 2/3 of the city.
The intensity and the volume of the rainfall overwhelmed the natural drainage and the municipal infrastructure across the community.
Contractors now working around the clock. The calls haven't stopped.
The more you get into the houses, the more you see that it's actually more catastrophic than people even imagine.
The road to recovery will be long and expensive, prompting the mayor to make another appeal to the provincial and federal governments.
We need that help from upper levels of government to be able to achieve those goals of making this community's infrastructure as resilient, as strong as possible.
Premier Doug Ford has vowed support, including Ontario Corps, a volunteer program that provides assistance in emergencies. But the local NDP MPP is demanding the province provide funding through its Disaster Recovery Assistance Program to help with costs not covered by insurance.
We don't need promises, we need relief. We need recovery funds for these residents.
A spokesperson for the Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response says the government is currently assessing the situation for eligibility for disaster recovery funding and determining what other additional resources may be needed. The mayor says city crews are working around the clock, responding to urgent service requests, assessing the damage, and preparing for even more rain later this week. Mike Walker, CTV News, St. Catharines.
It only lasted a little over 24 hours, but Canada's second largest airline is still playing catch-up after the weekend strike by flight attendants.
Tonight, some travelers have been left stranded as the airline's operations resume. CTV's Rahim Ladani reports from Pearson.
Camilo and Nim are part of a band and are trying to get to Seoul, South Korea, but WestJet isn't making it easy.
We got rebooked on an Air India flight that's like a 33-hour journey, like 23 hours in the air and then 10 layover. We just went to check-in for that flight and we were told that we're not on it.
The airline strike lasted 30 hours, but it continues to have a ripple effect on travelers like Dan, who's stuck in Winnipeg.
Yesterday, Monday, early morning, I got a notice saying, you've been rebooked on Porter Airlines. And I went, okay, that's fine. And then I read that that flight's on Friday. Yesterday was 5 days.
The CEO of WestJet says, we know this disruption has been frustrating for our guests and WestJetters, and we're sorry for that. After 1 day on the picket line, WestJet flight attendants are back on board with a tentative deal. However, for travelers here at Toronto Pearson International Airport, the headache of not knowing how their trip may be impacted is almost as frustrating as if the strike was ongoing.
It's really not a good impression for the customers. You know, you have a lot of plans, hotels, Airbnbs and car rentals booked, and it's a ripple effect on your trip.
According to aviation analytics company Cirium, 925 WestJet flights have been canceled since August 1st. Today, that number is 16. For those who are still waiting to be rebooked, advocates advise to research your rights.
If WestJet is leaving you in a limbo, then you have every right as a passenger to buy yourself a ticket on a different airline on the assumption that WestJet is not fulfilling its obligations, and then bill WestJet for the expense.
And remember this group heading to South Korea? Well, they've been rebooked again on a different airline for tomorrow.
We luckily will make it for our first tour date in Korea thanks to the hard work of WestJet. So we're going on a direct flight now with Air Canada tomorrow.
Rahim Ladani, CTV News, Toronto.
Canada's top U.S. trade official is back in Washington for new talks with his American counterpart.
It seems the two sides remain far apart, and there is the threat of more Trump tariffs in less than 2 weeks. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin reports.
Canada's trade team posted this the last time around, proof of their meeting with U.S. Trade Ambassador Jameson Greer. The talk so urgent, so sensitive, the Canadian delegation put out a statement saying they're back in Washington to talk some more.
We're in a hard set of talks right now. I certainly understand why Minister LeBlanc and Chief Negotiator Charette and Ambassador Wiseman are being very, very discreet and very cautious about what they say and do publicly. This administration has been mercurial. It is unpredictable at the best of times.
These talks unfolding against President Donald Trump's latest pressure tactic.
Mexico and Canada need us. We don't need them. The deal is important for them. It's not important for us.
As the clock ticks down to yet another Trump tariff, a threatened 50% aimed at Canadian goods, $20 billion in exports at risk starting August 19th. Retaliation, Washington says, for what it calls discriminatory Canadian treatment of U.S. goods. But having seen his fair share of hardball trade negotiations, former Finance Minister Ralph Goodale remains optimistic.
We're in the top 3 markets in the world for 47 of the American states. So obviously, despite the bluster, despite the arguments to the contrary on the American side, Canada is very critically important to the Americans.
Neither side, it seems, wants to blink first, and with little evidence of a breakthrough, at least the two sides are still talking. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
New data from Nanos Research suggests there is no obvious Conservative challenger to Prime Minister Mark Carney.
So what does this mean for the Tories' current leader, Pierre Poilievre? CTV's Rachel Aiello has been analyzing the data.
No prominent Canadian Conservative could defeat Prime Minister Mark Carney. That's the big takeaway from a new poll commissioned by CTV News. It asked Canadians which high-profile Tory would have the best chance if they were leading the Conservative Party. And Nanos Research found that the top choice was none of them, at 33%. 16% said former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Just 15% said current Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, while 11% said Ontario Premier Doug Ford. Nick Nano said these findings contain both good and bad news for Poilievre's continued leadership.
He's not seen as a prime minister or a close challenger. That's the bad news. The good news is that it doesn't seem to be anyone in the bushes, the shadows, in the wings that people identify as a real alternative to Pierre Poilievre.
In the absence of a clear challenger, insiders say despite some infighting, no one is organizing to try and oust him.
I think what you're seeing with the Conservative side of the equation right now is the team rebuilding itself, which is why I think you're seeing Pierre have the space and the numbers to kind of have this operating group to figure out what's next.
Carney's continued popularity could also bode well for the trio of upcoming by-elections, said this former candidate.
I do think that the Liberals have a very strong chance of securing a win in almost all, if not all, of those by-elections. I think that at this point, it doesn't look like Canadians are looking for an alternative.
Adding to this, Nanos' latest ballot tracking shows the Liberals widening the gap, with 47% support over the Conservatives' 27%. The NDP, meanwhile, are sitting at 12.7%.
I think for a lot of middle-of-the-road voters and perhaps Conservatives that are a little progressive, Mark Carney actually has a lot of appeal.
Those I spoke to today said while these numbers set the Liberals up for a smooth fall, any misstep could bring the Prime Minister's prolonged honeymoon period to an abrupt end. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
We turn now to the wildfires burning in northern Ontario and elsewhere. The latest numbers from the Ministry of Natural Resources show 5 new fires were confirmed in the northeast region as of 6 p.m. yesterday. That means there were a total of 46 active fires in the northwest region of the province. 2 new blazes were confirmed by last evening for a total of 119. The MNR says 24 of them are out of control, but 8 fires were extinguished since the previous update. Out west, 6 wildfires started in BC in the last 24 hours. That brings the total number of active blazes to 122. 54 of them are deemed out of control. Near Vernon, about 230 homes have been destroyed, 30 of them belonging to the Okanagan Indian Band. Provincial officials say fire activity is expected to increase this week as hot and dry conditions return.
Across the BC border, a 37-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of deliberately starting one of 3 blazes in and around Spokane, Washington. The flames have destroyed more than 700 houses and other buildings, forcing 64,000 people to evacuate. The blazes together are ranked as the top firefighting priority in the U.S. as a whole. In Greece, firefighters are scrambling to contain wildfires outside Athens before winds and high temperatures return. Some residents west of the capital returned to scenes of devastation after a major blaze tore through the area. Crews are working to prevent flare-ups. Several fires that burned through mountain and coastal areas were brought under control overnight. In the Netherlands, firefighters battled a blaze overnight and into today. The large wildfire forced evacuations and halted train service as flames spread quickly. About 100 hectares have been affected so far. Crews from several provinces were deployed to tackle the blaze. Large forest fires in the Netherlands are relatively rare.
Social media rumors sparked last week's frantic rush by migrants to the Spanish territory of Ceuta. Some of the migrants are now camping on a beach because shelters are full. An estimated 60,000 people reached Ceuta across a breakwater barrier. At least 72 died during the journey. Most of the migrants have since returned to Morocco. Online posts convinced the migrants that the border was open. Many also misunderstood Spain's immigration rules, thinking they could stay.
Part of a SpaceX rocket is scheduled to crash into the moon early tomorrow morning. The Falcon 9 rocket lifted off in January of 2025, carrying 2 lunar landers. One soft landed on the moon, the other failed to touch down. Now, the rocket's second stage is set to slam into the lunar surface at 2:35 a.m. Scientists estimate the collision will create a crater with a diameter of 20 to 30 meters. A mixture of solar activity and gravity forces have put the upper state on a path towards the moon. Coming up, emergency care getting an upgrade in Scarborough. The Fort government announces the construction of a new state-of-the-art ER, while a union warns it's not enough amid a system under strain.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, when you're searching online for a flight, a hotel, or a car rental, you've got plenty of options. But be careful, some consumers are frustrated. They booked Canadian destinations, but they were charged in U.S. dollars. I'll have that story. That's just ahead.
For all the kiddies who have camp tomorrow, here's a peek at what's on tap. Straight sunshine, no rain in the mix, 20 degrees at 8 a.m. By noon, it's going to feel like 32 with the humidity, even warmer in the afternoon. So bring the sunscreen, plenty of water, and have fun. More news when we return.
When you're planning to take a flight, rent a car, or book a hotel room online, there are hundreds of different websites to choose from.
But once you've found what you're looking for and go to pay, you have to make sure you check closely the currency you're being charged. Here's Pat Foran with a Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. Many travel websites are based in Canada, but many are not. And even if you're traveling to a Canadian destination, you may assume you'll be charged in Canadian dollars. But 2 consumers found out that's not always the case.
Nothing indicated that it was in U.S. dollars. Nothing at all.
Elizabeth Haddock of Orangeville planned a trip with her friends to Picton and needed a hotel room for 2 nights. She started her search on Trivago, which took her to the website super.com. She booked a room and thought she was paying in Canadian funds.
It wasn't until I got my credit card bill.
Haddock says instead of being charged $430 Canadian, it was $430 US, so the total jumped to $610.
Why would I want to see a U.S. price?
In a statement, Trivago said Trivago is not involved in the booking or payment process. The site that completed the reservation is best placed to investigate the charge. When Haddock reached out to super.com, she was offered a $43 credit, which she declined.
Normally, when you book anything online, I always get the price I expect.
Suraj Guganya, Vaughn needed a rental vehicle for a trip to Vancouver. He booked with Next Car Rental, which stated on its website transactions were in Canadian dollars. But if you prepay for a rental, it's in U.S. funds. Guganya felt that was misleading.
It seemed like Canadian to me because it had the Canadian taxes and everything. And then later on, when I look at my credit card statement, I see that it was charged in USDs.
Instead of paying $420 Canadian, it was $420 US, which made the charge $611. After we contacted Next Car Rental, the company said it made some changes to its website, saying we removed the line about all transactions being in Canadian dollars. All prepaid reservations booked on nextcarrental.com are in US dollars and always have been.
The best websites will make it very clear.
Travel experts say the best advice is to check websites carefully before finalizing transactions.
On the final page, I want to see if it's in CAD or USD, and if it doesn't say, I go back a page and double check personally.
In Guganya's case, Next Car Rental refunded the difference. As for Haddock, she feels she deserves money back too.
I want the difference to be refunded to my credit card.
And if you're charged in the wrong currency, you can complain to the booking website directly. You can also contact the business as well. You might be able to ask for a chargeback with your credit card, but there's no guarantee they'll allow it. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. I mean, you were gone for a few days, but last week temperatures were cooling a little bit. But now it feels like we had a really good weekend, a little bit of rain, but temperatures were great. And it just seems like summer's like back stronger than ever.
Just in
Thank
time
you.
for my return, right? It's the work. I was in Portugal 2 straight weeks of beautiful sunshine and heat. I didn't see rain at all, but I heard about the rain that happened here, and it is nice. The long weekend wasn't a total washout, right? You had Monday, which was really nice, and those kind of conditions are continuing to start this week, but we're not fully in the clear. There is some rain on tap. Let's walk you through it right now. Really nice. What a beautiful Tuesday night. 27 degrees. There is some humidity, so it feels like 30. The low tonight, 16 degrees, bang on seasonal, and it will really make it quite comfortable for sleeping. When you wake up tomorrow, beautiful clear sky. By 7 a.m., 19 degrees with some light wind, and then by 9 a.m., with the humidity building in, it's going to feel like 27 degrees. So tomorrow's a hot one as well. The high 29, and sunrise 6:11 a.m. and look at the sunset. Ooh, we're losing light 8:35 p.m. Enjoy these summer days. We're into August now, and it is going to fly by. So the high tomorrow 29 for Toronto, feeling like 35 degrees, feeling a bit warmer in Niagara Falls, a bit cooler out near Parry Sound and Bancroft. Tomorrow, the UV index, we have that beautiful sunshine. It is very high, so that means get yourself some sunscreen. You're likely to burn. Protect your skin. I want to pull up the forecast radar because we do have another beautiful day tomorrow, but look at this. By Wednesday and then Thursday, we've got some rain in the forecast. We're not talking about a washout, scattered showers, but certainly in the afternoon on Thursday, you're going to see the potential for some wet weather, and then it moves out. So keep in mind, enjoy what we have right now. It is warm all week, and even in the evenings, it's quite nice. Nathan, what are you doing over there? Dropping stuff? Yeah. Let's continue. By Thursday and Friday, so that's when we have unsettled conditions. And look at the humidity, right? So it's definitely going to make it feel hotter. And then if we're looking towards the weekend at this stage, there's a potential for showers. Not a washout either. Going to see some sun, but we'll keep an eye on that, but definitely prepare for the potential for rain. And then next week could start cloudy and rainy on Monday, but then we get back to some sunshine by Tuesday. So there's a lot to like, but yeah, keep in mind, we're not fully in the clear this week.
All right. I dropped my phone by accident.
Drop it like
it's hot. I didn't throw you off, and you did great.
Yeah.
Also tonight, using AI to identify high-risk candidates for delirium. We highlight 10 key factors and look at ways to reduce the risk. Health is next.
The health minister was in Scarborough today to celebrate the beginning of construction of a new emergency room.
And while it's being touted as progress, the union representing staff who might work there say the state of the province's health care is on financial life support. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has more.
On the eve of a provincial by-election call in a Scarborough riding, the Ford government celebrating the start of construction on a new emergency department at Centenary Health.
This new state-of-the-art ED will reduce wait times and provide Scarborough Health Network with the additional capacity it needs.
The department expected to open in 2031. The union representing staff who might work there sounding the alarm over funding, saying the current setup is unsustainable.
We've gone into a situation where hospitals are borrowing money to be able to meet payroll and other costs.
The whole $400 million deep. CUPE insists higher wages for medical staff are not the problem.
Expenditures on drugs and contracted out and sundry services, where increases have risen in the 9 to 12% range per year.
CUPE is calling on the province to pump an extra $5 billion into hospitals.
To clear the surgical wait lists, to take people off the stretchers in hallways, and to add the capacity to make the system able to meet the demands of an aging population.
The Minister of Health insists this government has ponied up in ways the previous Liberal government didn't.
$1 billion a year for the last 4 years is not an insignificant sum of money.
With over 3,000 new hospital beds in the pipeline and helping to establish new medical schools.
So we're making the investment on the capital side. We're also making the investment on the health human resources, because you can't open beds if you're not going to have clinicians to serve.
Sylvia Jones has tasked hospitals with coming up with plans to balance their books, but her ministry isn't sharing those reports. CUPE has counted some 1,300 job losses in Ontario hospitals since September. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
About a quarter of adults suffer from delirium at some point during a hospital admission. That's 500,000 Canadians a year.
But as our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, artificial intelligence could soon play a key role in preventing that.
Artificial intelligence.
Dr. Amol Verma's interest in delirium sprang from his grandmother's experiences during leg surgery.
And that was really striking for us because she was someone who was so mentally sharp and always very bright. And, you know, she was suddenly disoriented. She was talking about a wedding that wasn't happening.
Dr. Fahad Razak says delirium is extremely common, affecting 20 to 30% of all Canadians hospitalized for any range of conditions.
People are extremely confused. They may be very somnolent, so barely responsive. Other patients can be very agitated. They can not recognize family members or friends. They can have trouble eating or drinking. It is so serious that once you develop delirium, the chance of dying in hospital during that admission doubles.
And even if you recover, your chances of your brain sustaining permanent damage, requiring you to move into long-term care, for example, more than doubles. That's what prompted Unity Health to look at ways to identify high-risk candidates for delirium.
You can do it with very high precision, but it's very labor-intensive. So, for example, there's been a method that's developed that takes about 30 minutes to 2 hours per medical chart.
Not very practical, but an AI program developed by Unity Health using just 10 key factors is proving helpful. Harry Ennis's partner Bruce went through heart surgery last year.
I asked him sort of key dates, like when's your birthday, when's my birthday, and he didn't know them.
Ennis says the key is early identification of vulnerable patients.
You can reduce the chance of delirium occurring by as much as 40%.
You need to know about it before it happens, like before the surgery, so that you can monitor if it's happening. You can put in strategies to minimize it and keep the patient safe.
Things like being able to eat well, being able to stay hydrated, being able to get up and move and be physically active.
In Canada especially, we have a problem with recognizing it because many patients who are admitted to hospital don't speak English, and the fact that they are confused sometimes is not easily apparent to a healthcare worker.
The delirium risk calculator is currently being tested in several Ontario hospitals, and it will expand to 13 hospitals in October.
Delirium is the most important cause of hospital-acquired harm for Canadians, full stop.
Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Health Canada has authorized Moderna to conduct a clinical trial on a new vaccine for Ebola. The mRNA shot would target the form of the disease blamed for an outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. More than 1,700 people have died. Moderna says the first volunteer in the trial received the vaccine Monday in Nova Scotia. 80 people are expected to be enrolled, including in Toronto. Ebola has never been detected in Canada, but it will be the first country to participate in Moderna's trial as part of a global effort to develop a vaccine.
2 people who contracted that stomach unsettling illness in the U.S., cyclosporiasis, have died in Michigan. State health officials say both deaths involve patients with significant underlying health conditions that may have impacted the illness and dehydration. The illness is not usually life-threatening. U.S. health officials say there have been cases in 45 states. The outbreak has been linked in part to lettuce from Mexico.
Marineland has begun the second phase of its whale relocation plan. The second phase will see 7 more whales on the move as they head to SeaWorld's San Antonio location. This relocation comes just weeks after the shuttered tourist attraction successfully transferred 6 belugas to 2 different parks in the U.S. Marineland says the health, safety, and well-being of the whales remains its top priority throughout the journey. The park tried to move the animals to China last year, but was stopped by the federal government. Marineland closed in September of 2024.
After the break, more military eyes in the sky in the Arctic. Canada's network of satellites receives a multi-billion-dollar government boost to help bolster defense across the globe.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Canada's trade surplus was bigger in June, hitting $3.9 billion. B&M Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez looks at the numbers.
It was the fourth straight month that Canada reported a trade surplus. Statistics Canada says total exports hit $77.5 billion in June, with a 16.5% jump in minerals and metals exports, with strength in gold. But the country exported 10% less energy. Canada imported 59% more computers and computer parts used in data centers. Saudi Arabia's Aramco says the world has lost more than 2.6 billion barrels of oil since the start of the war with Iran. The oil giant says if the Strait of Hormuz opened today, it would take 18 months to refill inventories if at least 2 million barrels made it through every day. Before the conflict began in February, about 20 million barrels would pass through the strait each day. SpaceX reported earnings for the first time since the company went public. Revenue for Elon Musk's company came in at $7.8 billion U.S., which did beat the estimates. But SpaceX reported an overall loss of $500 million. The company's spending billions on AI, and Starlink, which is SpaceX's satellite service, is the company's biggest profit maker. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 71.09 U.S. West Texas Intermediate down over $4 to 75.77 U.S. a barrel. Western Canadian Select is up to 66.38. And the TSX shot up 575 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
The federal government has announced more than $2 billion to boost the military's satellite communications in the Arctic.
And the Canadian firm Telesat has been tapped to do it. CTV's Mike Couture has the details.
The satellite controllers at Telesat are going to have a lot more eyes in the sky thanks to a multi-billion-dollar Canadian government contract. The Ottawa-based company is expanding its number of satellites from 156 to 225, and it's all to help Canada's military in the Arctic.
This capability that we're delivering them will be used to support jet fighters, aerial drones, Navy ships, forward operating bases.
The satellites will help expand the already existing network, and there will be a spillover effect for residents of the far north, where connectivity is a huge issue.
Backbone to Arctic security is going to be our ability to communicate in the Arctic, and this is it.
Retired Major General Scott Clancy is the former Director of Operations for NORAD. He says once it's up and running, the constellation of satellites will bolster defense across the globe.
Make sure that everybody has the communications they need to be able to fight and move and survive in the Arctic regions. That helps the United States, it helps the continent, and it helps NATO allies counter our adversaries.
Buying Canadian is one of the goals of the government's defense industrial strategy, but it's also to maintain sovereignty over the network, something that wouldn't happen if Canada went with Starlink, which is owned by Elon Musk.
The command and control and communications to be able to do that, therefore, need to be sovereign and not at the whim of someone else who can literally remove this, as we have seen in other conflicts.
The new satellites will be made by MDA in Montreal and are expected to be in service by early 2028. Mike Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
New data from Visa suggests consumers spent more in both Canadian host cities during this summer's FIFA World Cup. The credit card company says match day spending rose nearly 25% in Toronto and almost 13% in Vancouver. Both are compared with the same days a year ago. Toronto saw the largest game day increase in spending when Germany took on Ivory Coast here on June 20th. Data previously released by payment processing company Moneris suggested Toronto saw a small boost in spending during the first weeks of the tournament, but found it paled in comparison to spending during Taylor Swift's Eras Tour concerts in the city.
The Toronto Blue Jays will play Game 2 of their series in Houston tonight. It will also be the second game for Dalton Varsho in a new uniform. He made his Astros debut last night, mere hours after being traded by the Jays.
American League pennant and Game 7 of the World Series. And he rips this one on the ground through Guerrero. Clement pounces
misses on it, and the throw is late. Varsho legs it out.
Varsho got a hit in his first trip to the plate, but Toronto would end up winning the game 3-1. The outfielder got a chance to chat with some of his former mates before the game following what was an emotional afternoon for the Gold Glover. But he was not alone, as the Jays were busy yesterday before the 6 p.m. trade deadline. The Jays moved Varsho and cash considerations to Houston for pitcher Spencer Getty. Reliever Jeff Hoffman was sent to Minnesota in exchange for pitcher Dasan Hill, second baseman Demer Pena, pitcher John Kellens, and other considerations. Toronto also moved shortstop Arjun Nimala, right fielder Eddie Micheletti Jr., and pitcher Angel Rivero to the LA Angels for pitcher Jose Soriano. And on Sunday, pitcher Kevin Gausman was traded to the Cubs for outfielder Brett Bateman and infielder Ty Southesane.
The quickest way to explore the world might just be with a fork. Today we're discovering the people, the traditions, and the flavors behind some incredible cuisine. At Nona's Burek in Etobicoke, every bite is rooted in tradition. Let's take a peek at what's on the menu. Loretta! Hi! Specializing in handcrafted Balkan-style burek, this family-run spot serves flaky, golden pastries filled with savory favorites and recipes inspired by generations of home cooking. For someone who's never, ever tasted burek, tell me a little about how it's made and what goes into it and how it tastes.
Okay, so you were correct. You tried it in Turkey. The Ottoman Empire brought it to the Balkans, and we just did wonderful things with it. It's made by hand, every day from scratch over here. There's obviously layers. We have 3 different flavors here for you to try, and that's on our menu. It's meat, cheese, and then spinach and cheese.
And the bread is traditional dough, or it feels like a phyllo pastry almost.
Phyllo, but made from scratch.
This is your favorite, right?
That's my favorite.
So what makes it your favorite?
I love spinach, and I love the mix of feta and ricotta. You can probably taste it right now, right?
I'm just gonna keep eating.
This is our chivapis, so it's our sausages mixed with beef and lamb.
Wow. And then these are...
We have our little fixings here. That's roasted red pepper spread, onions with some paprika, and this is our little gem that I can't tell you about, but you have to try it.
Oh, secret recipe. But yes. You'll whisper them
I
later.
will, for
okay,
sure.
I like that.
This is our Nona's cake. It's our specialty. It's a Biscoff no-bake cheesecake.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. How's that bite? You need a moment? My family's been here since 1968. We're Canadian, but we've obviously carried our traditions around even up until today. This is why I opened Nona's Burek, because every day we've been eating this. I've been eating Burek my whole life. What makes me happy is almost every customer that's come in here has said, it reminds me of my grandma.
You don't need a passport to experience the flavors of the Balkans. Just bring your appetite and let the food transport you to a whole new world. Thank you, Nona. Full details at cp24.com.
With summer vacation season in full swing, some companies as well as cities in the U.S. are trying to lure Canadians back south of the border with deals and discounts.
And while those places are looking for a tourism boost, here in Canada, it's turning out to be a great summer for the tourism industry. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth has more.
Yeah. On a hot summer day,
ring off the rope without untying the knot.
The jam-packed Halifax waterfront offers a snapshot of the busy tourism vibe in this province.
We're 29% ahead of passenger counts based on this time last year.
The tourism operators say business is on track for a record-breaking year, locally and nationally. According to Stats Canada, tourism revenue across the country has climbed more than 5% compared to the same time frame in 2025.
We're having increased Americans taking advantage of the American dollar. We're seeing Canadians stay home.
Donna Riani and her husband are visiting from Boston for the first time.
Well, obviously the U.S. is not a friendly neighbor anymore.
Given the recent tariff tensions between the two countries, Riani is here to see the sights and show support for her northern neighbors.
It's something I wanted to do. It's nice.
As Americans visit Canada, Canadians continue to travel travel within this country. Domestic tourism remains strong. David Martel from Quebec City was tempted to travel to the U.S., but he decided to stay in his home country.
For now, I'm going to support the local markets.
The trend of Canadians refusing to travel south of the border is taking a bite out of U.S. tourism. To attract more travelers, Porter Airlines is offering 20% off flights from Canadian cities to New York from August until December. New York is tossing in hotel discounts and cheaper tickets for Broadway shows.
And we're offering 30% off of 85 plus tourism attractions.
Martel says thanks, but no thanks.
Maybe in a couple of years.
He'll spend his vacation money in his home country as the tourism industry continues to surge from coast to coast. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Tourists in Toronto going to love what we have on tap for weather tonight. If you have a sports game, it is warm, feeling like in the 30s and clear skies. We have another beautiful sunny hot day tomorrow. Then wet weather rolls in for Thursday and Friday. Not washouts, though, and the potential for wet weather on the weekend. But take note, it's warm all week and we have humidity every single day.
Sounds good.
That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Andrea Case, who has your next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.